You can do like.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention up here? Thank you, little drummer people. Let's go ahead and continue with some of the stuff from yesterday. You guys, this is a review. In fact, I put this up for my algebra class after they finished their lesson today. I said, look, this is what you're doing. They can do these. They're working on that right now. So this is from your Algebra 1 course. So doesn't mean that you exactly remember every part of your Algebra 1 course from 2 years ago. And some of you that were here this summer, you covered this with us this summer as well. Okay, so just a quick reminder, k to the first, k to the fourth. The parentheses really don't mean anything in this case because you're not bringing anything in. And that k to the first, they just put it there because it shows the exponents. We're just adding those two exponents together. So that is equal to k to the 1 plus 4, which is k to the 5th. Okay? Now, I'm guessing you didn't do all of that if you understand it. You just said, hey, it's k to the 5th. Okay? Questions? No? All right. So this one, I'm just going to take all these kind of puzzle pieces out. That's 4u to the 5th and v. Those are 3 pieces. And then we have times 6 times u to the 5th times v squared. 4 times 6 is 24. U to the 5th times u to the 5th is u to the 5th plus, or 5 plus 5 are u to the 10th. And then v and v squared is v to the 3rd. Okay? Pretty neato stuff. Now, for those of you that said you did distributed property across the way, remember, there's no addition sign in between here. Okay? Or, excuse me, inside of here. So you just ignore the parentheses. Questions there? All right. Here we go. We bring the 2 in. It's like distributing the 2. You bring it into all 4 parts. That's 5 squared, a cubed squared, b to the 10th squared, and c squared. Okay? So we get 5 squared is 25. A cubed squared is a to the 6th. B to the 10th squared is b to the 20th. And c squared squared is c squared. Or actually c squared is c squared, not c squared squared. That'd be c to the 4th, so we don't want that. C squared. Questions? Bella, Gloria to you again. All right. Okay, good to go. Number 4. We'll zoom in just to show how really fun it is. Okay, now notice, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Notice I am bringing the 4 in to each part here. So it's coming in there, 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 and there. So that's 3 to the 4th, x to the 4th, y to the 8th, and z to the 4th. Okay? It's y to the 8th because you have 4y squared. So you have y squared, y squared, y squared, y squared. Okay? And then from here, these parentheses don't matter because we're not bringing anything in. So we have times 3 times x times y times z. And there's actually a multiplication sign in between all of these things. So we have 3 times, what's 3 to the 4th? Yeah, it's 81. If you think of it that way, 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. 81 times 3 is 243. Times 3 is 729. And we have x cubed, and x to the 4th is x to the 7th. And another x is x to the 8th. And then you have a y, and a y, and a y to the 8th. So that's y to the 10th. And then we have a z to the 4th, and a z, and z to the 5th. That z cool. Okay. Questions? I know it's amazing fun. All right, this one right here, this is negative g squared h, and there's multiply, and then we have a multiply by negative 2 to the 3rd. What's negative 2 to the 3rd? Yeah, it's negative 8. Okay, negative times negative. Anytime you raise a negative to an odd, it's a negative. If you raise a negative to an even, it's a positive. Okay, G cubed and J to the 9th times, what's negative G to the 4th? Good. Nope, that's if it's a negative exponent. So just positive G to the 4th. Okay, negative to an even power is positive. H to the 4th and J to the 4th. So we get negative, this negative right here, by the way, just so you don't like confuse yourself, you could think of it two different ways. First, you could say, hey, it's a negative times a positive, which is a negative. The other way to think about it is to think, look, that's a negative 1 out there. And so now I'm really just dealing with a G squared and a G to the 4th, which is a G to the, that's G to the 6th, and another G, that'd be G to the 9th, and then we put the negative on the outside. But that negative goes with this negative 8, and negative 1 and negative 8 is actually positive 8. So then negative's gone there. Okay? So if you think of this as negative 1 times negative 8 is positive 8. G squared, G to the 3rd, and G to the 4th is G to the 9th. We have H and H to the 4th, which is H to the 5th. And we have J to the 9th and J to the 4th, or J to the 13th. All right. One amazing, yes? It's a, right here, because you're going negative 8 times negative 1. Yeah. Okay, good question. So here we have 2xy to the 5th. We have times y.
Oh, you might want to go there.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. 2xy to the 5th. And we have this negative 1 here. I'm going to put there. Raise that to the 4th. Negative to the even power is a positive. So that just becomes y to the 4th. And we get 2x, y to the 9th. All right. Questions? That's so fun. Pretty radical. Okay. I know. All right, why don't you take out yesterday's assignment, please? Yes. That was your extra practice for those of you who are trying to figure out what we're talking about. Extra practice. Which one? Right now we're going to go through it, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here are the answers. I'm just going to put them up here. We'll talk about them set by set. Number 1 is negative 5. Number 2 is no solution, because you cannot take the root of a negative number and get a real number. They're asking for real. They said find the real nth root. Okay. And number 3 is plus minus 2. Now, that generally would bring up a question, because most of you probably just put 2. And it should be plus minus 2, because in this case they're saying you have 64 and you're going to take a 6th root of that. So you're imposing the root. Whenever you put on the root, so you started with 64 and then you put a radical symbol, you have to do plus minus if it's an even root. Okay, now if it was an odd root, you don't do plus minus, right? Because you can get a negative answer for an odd root, just like on number 5. Okay? Which here you wouldn't have to anyway, because they tell you that it's to the 1/3 power. So the third root of negative 27 is actually negative 3. Now on number 4, the answer is 8, and you don't have to put plus minus 8, because you already have the root in there by putting the denominator of 2. Okay, so you're not imposing that. They're asking for it, so you just put what's called the principal root, which is the positive one. Yes?
Will points be taken away in the future if we don't remember to do that?
Yeah. That's like a big deal. So, for sure. Okay, number 6 is 128. Number 7 is 1 over 343. There are some questions on that earlier in the day. And the reason, what happens here, remember, a negative exponent makes it into a fraction. So this becomes 49 to the negative 3/2. We actually move it to the bottom, which makes that a positive exponent. And then the square root of 49 is 7. Cubed is 343. So 1 over 343. Okay, number 8 is negative 8. Once again, you can take an odd root of a negative number. Can't get an even root of a negative. Okay? Because a negative times a negative times a negative gives you a negative. Okay. Number 9 is 1/100th. Same kind of idea as number 7, where you'd have to move that to the bottom. So this you could think of as 1,000 to the negative 2/3 all over 1. You move that down to the bottom. Okay, which brings you to this form here. Okay, number 10 is 27, and number 11 is 5. Any questions on that side? Okay, moving on here. Number 12 is letter C, as in cool. Number 13 is letter D, as in duck. Number 14 is letter B, as in boy. Or bats. Yeah, whoever said that. Or basketball. We're going burrito. Okay. Neato. Okay, number 15 is letter A, as in awesome. Okay. And number 16 is negative 1. Notice you divide by 6 and then take the third root of negative 1, which is negative 1. Number 17 is negative 2.18 and negative 7.82 if you round to 2 decimal places. Notice you'd have to divide by 2 and then take the fourth root, which when we impose an even, you'd have to do plus minus. Okay, fourth root of 64. And then subtract 5. So you get negative 5 plus minus the fourth root of 64. That would probably go into your calculator because fourth root of 64 is not a pretty number. You get negative 2.18 and negative 7.82. Number 18, negative 2. And number 19 is 10. Okay, any questions on those 4? If you have individual questions, you can ask me a little later as well. But number 20, a cube. Okay, three-dimensional square. So x times x times x is our volume, or side times side times side. That's to the third power. Take the cube root of 1728. You get 12. 12 inches. All right, nice. Teaching Ethan how to cheerlead back there? Yes. Good. Just trying. Tough. Be a good student there, Ethan. All right. Any questions on that? All right, I want you to take your warm-up, the other warm-up, the one you picked up on the way in. It's a puzzle time. You'll get a small chuckle out of this one, but it'll be a chuck. Maybe not even a chuckle. It might just be a chuck. Okay. All right, you only get 10 minutes to work on it. Off you go.
Wait, how long?
10 minutes. As far as you can in 10 minutes. Sorry, I miscalculated on my time. You get 14 minutes. It's my fault. My fault. I had a set time. Then I'm putting up the answers. Hey, can I have your attention up here real quick? It means everyone's eyes and ears focused up here. It was brought to my attention that when you do this one, I told you that you're taking the principal root, which I would say you just do 5. You don't usually put plus minus if you already see the root. Okay? However, with that being said, this worksheet only gives you an answer with a plus minus. So therefore, you're going to have to use the plus minus on that. Okay? All right. But you usually don't do that unless you are imposing the root. If you're being asked a question with a radical already there, you don't put plus minus. You just use the principal square root, which is the positive. Okay? However, on this sheet, I guess we will be. All right. Hey. Come on. Don't make fun of the chuck. All right. There are solutions. Just double check your work. I know that many of you already put the, you already got the answer to the puzzle. I'm not going to give that away. That one's fine. You guys are going to have to figure that one out. Huh? Yeah. No. It's funny. You just keep working. That is the reward at the end. All right, any questions on those that haven't been asked? Yeah. Yeah, you guys, unfortunately on these, like letter B and letter G, they're taking into account it's an even root, so it's plus minus. Therefore, yep, negative. But a negative times positive would give you negative. Negative times a negative would give you positive. So just flip them around. So I personally, anytime you're given a root, an even root, already on there, you generally just use the principal square root. So I would say that this is 5, and I would say that this is negative 6. However, that's not how this worksheet was taken into account. I'll probably change that in future years. Okay. Any other questions? Good questions there. Okay, so I've got your assignment. I'm going to hand that out. Have you guys work on